In this week's episode, we'll be talking about having rules in your life. Before we get to that, Kira, how's it going?
It is going all right on my end. I have a very, very wonderful friend who is leaving and moving to Israel. So I'm really, really sad because he won't be here anymore. And on a brighter note, I am really excited for tonight's full moon because I guess like the lunar eclipse already happened, but the energy carries throughout the day, so it's totally cool, and it carries into tonight's full moon. So I'm really excited because the energy can affect you for up to 2 to 3 years after this moment. So there's also I don't know the opposite of solar. There's a solar eclipse on June 10th, which is for like embodying like new energy. So this full moon is releasing it. So that's really exciting, and that's how I'm doing. How are you, Robert?
That's dope. Yeah, sorry to hear about the farewell for your friend, but
Thanks.
sounds like you're quite aware of the how do you say, astronomy, is that the word? These eclipses and whatnot. You're very aware of that. That's pretty cool. Today I'm doing good because you're gonna laugh when you hear this, but I woke up this morning from a dream where I was picking up this girl who went to Harvard, and it was a total like just cold approach pickup, as they call it. Just saw her in the store, started a conversation, and it was smooth. That pickup was smooth as butter. It was so good. It was so good. I'm like, in my dreams, I'm like half lucid, just because I log my dreams like pretty much every morning. So in my dreams, I have like, I don't know if I call it like full lucid, but I'm definitely like kind of clear thinking, and like I come up with these like brilliant ideas while I'm sleeping, almost as if I'm like awake, but I don't quite like control the entire dream, but I definitely like make good decisions in my dream. So I call it like halfway lucid. But anyways, I woke up with that and I was like, oh man, that was so good. So good.
I love that so much.
Yeah. All right. So our topic for today, rules for life. So tell us what is meant by rules, having rules in our life.
So I was reading this book, and it's called like Power Something by Jordan Peterson, because I heard it was a good book. Somebody was like, oh, this is an amazing book. So I was like, all right, I'll read it. I was really fucking bored. Can't even get through it. But apparently he had a first book to that book that I was reading, and it was called 12 Rules for Life. There it is. Robert has it. And I was thinking to myself, because I was watching Zombieland the other day. And for those of you who haven't seen Zombieland, they have to survive in a zombie land, and it's Jesse Eisenberg, whatever his name is, and he has these rules. And he's like, rule number 5, always wear your seatbelt, or something like that, and he has his rules. And in like those little love movies and stuff, you'll see like a girl, and she's like talking about relationships, and she's like, rule number 3, never invite him on the porch until the 4th date, something like that. And I realized that like everybody has these little rules for life, and I wanted to become more aware of my rules in my life. What are my rules? So I think that this episode should be all about becoming aware of the rules that you have in your life, and just really becoming conscious of them.
Yeah, you know what, we are so similar, because I've literally been thinking about the same thing, I would say, this week. It's just I've been thinking of it in terms of the word fundamentals, but I think we're talking about the same thing. Like at work, I have this sheet of paper that I write fundamentals, and an example of one of them would be, remember everyone is suffering, right? Because that reminds me, if I get into some sort of interaction with somebody and they're kind of irritated, or they're kind of like rude to me a little bit, or right, I put that in the context of everyone is suffering. So I ask myself, well, what's going on in their life that's causing them to act like this? Surely it's not me. And so that prevents me from taking things personally, right? So
Yeah.
is that kind of along the lines of what you're saying?
Yeah, that is kind of along the lines of what I'm saying. I guess you could have like a fundamentals list, or you could have a like your rules for life. And I felt like breaking them up into categories would be helpful as well, because like it's like the non-negotiables in relationships, like what are your non-negotiables in a relationship? And for example, one of my non-negotiables in a relationship is, my man has to have manners. He has to have some fucking manners. Like, I can't be having my man treating people with disrespect if they didn't treat him with disrespect. And if they treat him with disrespect, I need him to treat them with disrespect back. So it's like a non-negotiable. Like, I need that. And you could break it down into like your spiritual non-negotiables throughout the day, which I suppose could be like your fundamentals. Like like rule number 1, never believe your thoughts. If you start to feel your thoughts creeping up, then that could be like a rule. That's a non-negotiable in your life, like to not believe the thoughts that are going on in your head. Unless they're good, but yeah. So breaking them up into categories, I think, would be helpful. And considering you already have them in your life, then, it'd be good to just become aware of them.
Yeah, I would say not just become aware of them, but also, well, yeah, become aware, but then also constantly remind yourself of them. Because I think that one of my motivations for creating that list of fundamentals that I keep is that I noticed at the beginning of anything, I would follow the fundamentals. You start a new job, you're following the fundamentals very well. But with time, as time goes on, I noticed I would kind of slack off with the fundamentals, and I would try to get fancy and do this or that. And I realized, like, wait a second, wait. I'm not getting good results here. I'm trying too hard, or I'm doing too much. Back to the fundamentals. Come back to how I did it on day 1, where it's just, you got to just do A, B, and C. Of course, I'm going to be better at it than I was on day 1, but it's all about doing A, B, and C. Because then we start getting fancy and skilled, and we start trying to do D, E, and F. But it's great to do D, E, and F if, not many people are doing that. But if you do that and also are skipping A, B, and C, then your whole, the whole show goes to shit, so to speak.
Yeah, I completely get that. And so, in order to fix that, you could easily make a rule and be like, all right, well, rule number 1, always complete A, B, and C before moving on to D, E, and F, so, yeah. And when you said, like, not only be aware of them, but like to remind yourself of them throughout the day. And I think that being aware of them allows you to remind yourself of them throughout the day, because it's like, like I have a rule at my job, and it's something that I'm aware of. It's something that, I'm completely aware of. And I remind myself of it every day. When a customer comes in and I ask them if they want their fucking receipt 5 times before they answer me. So I click the X, and then they look up at me, and then they're like, can I have a receipt? And I'm like, bitch, I asked you 5 fucking times if you wanted your receipt, but I have a rule that I can't do that at this job, because I've done that before at a job. I've been extremely rude to the people who hired me and the customers. So, this is a rule that I have at my job. It's a rule, so I'm constantly reminded of it. And I feel like, say you're dating, or you're in a relationship and your man wants some sex and he hasn't earned it, then you can have a rule and be like, all right, well, my rule is my man doesn't get sex unless he's earned it. you know? So that's like a rule that obviously you would be reminded of when the situation would be coming up, you know, that you can remind yourself of your rule. But I think it's also very important to follow the string of thoughts that comes after that. You know, when you remind yourself that he has to earn it, or when you remind yourself not to you know, lose self-control at work, you have to, that next step is to label what you're doing as you're going over your rules for life. And when you connect going over the rules for life and you connect it with that specific thing, you know, having to earn sex, or having to have self-control at work, those specific two things will be linked with your rules for life, which will help that link in your brain so you can have a sort of system going. So, you know, you're not all jumbled up and you kind of just have it there.
Sounds like you've thought this out pretty thoroughly.
What else would I be doing?
So how long have you been using this system? It almost sounds like a system that you've developed here.
Well, technically I've just become aware that I've been using the system, but I think I've been using this system subconsciously for a while, but like now that I'm like fully aware of it, it's nice. Just because, you know, when you set rules for yourself, you set structure for yourself, and you have something to live for. You have something that you have dedicated yourself to, which makes your life overall fuller and happier. And, you know, so I guess overall, it's just made me feel really good to become aware and conscious and really focus on the rules that I set in my life in all the different areas.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to last week's episode where we talked about using your mind to your advantage. And I think this would be an example, because it's about being able to bring your mind back to the fundamentals, back to these rules, even though your mind might wander off, you know, get overly excited, or on the other hand, get overly depressed or something. And you got to always constantly bring that mind back to the middle, back to your rules, back to your fundamentals. And what you said just now about, you said when you set rules for yourself, you set structure for yourself. And what's interesting is how that kind of, I think, jives well with the metaphor of the mind as a 5-year-old child, because you could easily say, when you set rules for your 5-year-old, you set structure for your 5-year-old. You see what I mean? And it's going to produce a much, much healthier kid, in my opinion.
I completely agree. And I imagined thoughts doing the jive, because you said it jives well. So that made me laugh. And yeah, I feel like when you don't have a structure, you don't really know where to go. You don't really know what you're doing. But if you have a structure for yourself, then it gives you enough groundedness for you to move freely with a clear vision throughout, you know, your life and your days. If you know in your heart that you know your rules, you know, then you would know in your heart that you are never doing anything that is out of alignment with you, because you have your rules for your life. You have that structure for your life. You have your character, your identity built up, your integrity, and you are just going to move forward in life like that. You know, so obviously, like, maybe too many rules would be like absolutely obnoxious, and nobody, I think, would want that in their life. But, you know, a few major rules, you know, that are major rules, like rule number 1, always put yourself first, you know, things like that are major. And, you know, for you to remember those, I think would just bring a lot more swiftness and clear energy to your days.
Yeah. Let's talk about some more examples of rules.
Okay.
Do you have any more examples of that have been working in your own life?
Let's see if I can think. Oh, I've just developed a rule because I think that when I was younger, I used to blame everyone else around me because I kind of had a God complex. Because I was kind of like, me doing something wrong? You fucking kidding me? It's you. Get out of my space. I'm godly. So now I have a rule that, you know, if I feel like if I'm around people and I feel bad energy, I feel like negative energy, I check in with myself and I make sure that that negative energy, I check in with myself, and it's a rule. And, you know, I ask myself, am I feeling negative energy because these people are really cool and I'm really nervous because it's new energy in my life and these people are kind of like awesome, so I'm really nervous because like I don't know who they are yet? Is that the negative energy? Is it negative energy because I'm feeling insecure because these people are really awesome and I feel like I can't live up to them? You know, what is this energy? And if I can't find anything that has to do with me, then I accept that it's them, and you know, I kind of just leave it be. And if it gets worse, you know, then I cut them off, obviously, and if it's fine, then it's fine. But most of the time it's me feeling insecure about something, and so that's why I have that rule to always check in if I'm feeling negative energy, to always check in and see if it's me first.
So the rule is, if you're feeling unease, then you check in with yourself to see if there's any insecurities.
Yes.
Gotcha. I think that's a good one, because that's something that escapes our awareness so much, is our own insecurities, because it's almost like those insecurities, like what I say is like the eyeballs are in the front and they look out. So like anything in your mind is always going to be forgotten because you're not looking at it. You're looking from your face outwards, right? So
Yeah.
all your attention goes, towards the external. But yeah.
Can you think of any rules
for myself that I've been
that you
using?
have? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see, my day to day. I mean, some are a little bit more like logical, or logical, or like operational than others. So things like acting during the momentum. So for instance, I'm moving apartments next month, right? Also getting clarity. Let me explain what happened. So the moving apartments, there's like a whole list of things you have to do to move in, right? Got to supply your pay stubs. You got to supply this document. You have to sign the lease. You have to sign up with the electricity company. You have to, right? So there's a big checklist. And first of all, the email that they sent me was so jumbled, and they mentioned the things multiple times, and it's like you only need to mention it once, and it should be in chronological order. So first I put it in chronological order, then I removed duplicate steps. So I ended up with this very clean, simplified checklist of what to do. Then I just went through doing it. And, as I was sitting, it's tempting to be like, oh, I'd rather go do something else right now. But when you realize like, hey, you're sitting down, you have this momentum, you just did one or two of them, like it's easy to do 3, 4, and 5 in this sitting, like just do it, use the momentum, keep going. So that's maybe a more like I was saying, like an operational rule of like, there's also a rule I kind of like, this is what I learned in like personal development and efficiency workshops, is touching all items only once. So let's say you go in your email and you open up an email and you read it. Instead of just sitting on it, you act on it. You either file it away or you take an action on it. but you don't touch it twice. Same with a piece of mail. You get a piece of mail, you know, you open the envelope and it's got this letter, and then you don't just put it on your desk, because then you end up looking at it 10 times throughout the day, like, right? And that encourages analysis paralysis. So, and this is the last thing I'll say, because I'm kind of sort of just throwing a hodgepodge of ideas here, but the last thing about the analysis paralysis is what I'm noticing and what I'm becoming aware of in my life recently is two modes of being. There's action taking mode and there's contemplation mode. And they're kind of like, they're almost mutually exclusive. Like if you're in one, you're not in the other. So it's crazy to look at something like a piece of mail that I've left on my desk and realize like, oh, I've looked at this thing like 10 times, like without taking action. It's wild. But if you get into the right groove where you're taking action on every single item, it's like totally transforming to your psychology. I don't know if you've ever noticed that if you get into this mode of where you're just kind of taking action and there's very little, I would say, unnecessary contemplation. Because a little bit of forethought and planning is good, but you don't want to just sit around just like, you know, what they call mental masturbation, just like thinking about stuff. Not that kind of mental masturbation.
No, I know.
But you know, thinking of like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, but oh yeah, I forgot, I've been neglecting this, but you're just thinking the whole time. You're not actually doing anything. So, all right, let me pass it back to you, because I was kind of ranting a little.
It was good though. It was a good rant. I think that's definitely a good rule to have in my life, or in anybody's life, because I get mail all the time, and I open it up and I put it to the side because it's usually parking tickets and shit, and I don't feel like paying them, so I just have them there for when I'm ready to call them. But I hate seeing them sit there, so that's like a great idea to only touch something once. And yeah, I guess like understanding like who you want to be when you die would help you best truly discover the rules that you already have in your life and what they stand for, if you know, how they contribute to who you want to be when you die, and also to form the rules of, you know, who you want to be when you die. You know, like one of my rules, you know, I want to die in the casket as a woman with integrity. I want to make sure that, you know, I was honest in all of my endeavors, and that's a straight up rule that I have in my life and will always keep in my life. You know, so it contributes to the bigger picture, the end picture of when my soul elevates to wherever it elevates to. You know, so that's a rule of life, and that's how you can find them. That's how you can create them, is take notice of what you allow and don't allow, what you want, what you desire, what you don't desire in all of your everyday life, and you will probably come to a big list of a whole bunch of rules. And I'm sure that you can cluster a good amount of those rules down into, you know, like one rule, so that way, you know, you can have a lesser amount of rules. And then you'll just be like looking at your life and you'll be like, wow, I'm pretty damn fucking cool for all of these rules, eh?
Yeah, totally. It's reminds me of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that book, which I'll put in the notes. But one of the habits is begin with the end in mind, and he has you imagine your funeral and kind of what you would want people to say, and it's a good exercise, you know. It's definitely, I feel like it's a huge flex, you know, like a flex for the human beings, because there's no other species on the planet that can actually think like, okay, when I leave this planet, you know, how do I want my funeral to be? What kind of a person do I want to, what kind of legacy do I want to leave? Human beings are the only ones that can do that. And so I think it's pretty powerful, and it's a deep question, you know. It's lately I came across this number, like they say the number of days that a human being has on average, you know, if you live, I think it's like 70 years or 80 years or something like that, is 27,000 days. You're going to live about 27,000 days. And I like to put a number on that because it kind of reinforces or emphasizes the truth of the matter, which is that that number is finite. It's not, it doesn't go forever. It's a fixed number, right? Like you only have so many days to live. And I feel like it gives a sense of urgency of like, all right, this is it. I gotta perform. I gotta make the most of it. Like you feel a sense of urgency, right? When you hear that.
It's actually hilarious that you're bringing this up because I was in my car the other day randomly thinking about how many days I would have left to live if I died at like 120. So I did the math and it was like, I don't know, like 23,000 days. I don't know how much it was, but I thought to myself, damn, I only got that many days left? Like, shit. I better fucking get on it. I better get on it. Because when you put it into days, you know, and it's like, wow, only 27,000 days that I get to live on this earth. Like, holy fuck, like I should probably do something. Where do I want to be by day 2000 at 25,453? So yeah, that's good. That's some good stuff.
Totally. Any final thoughts for the day before we close out?
Yeah, take advantage of this full moon energy because it's going to affect you for the next 2 to 3 years. Seriously, like fucking do something good, you know, just in case, right? Like just in case. So, you know, say you do something really, really good tonight, you plant the seed and you know, it happens, it all happens to be coming true. And fucking, you know, next 2 to 3 years, then boom, bam, you did it for a reason.
So you're saying like whatever we do in the next couple of days, it's like emphasized more because of the moon?
Yes.
Like it'll carry over into the future years?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, I guess I better plan out the next couple of days a little bit more.
Especially tonight, though. Like, especially tonight, because it's the actual night of the full
moon. I will be revisiting my list of fundamentals tonight, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as for my end, yeah, great topic. Rules for life. I think it's so. Yes, I think we need the structure. I think we need to really come back to, you know, the mind can wander. I think we need to always come back to fundamentals, to structure. I think you see it in professional sports. You can have an amazing athlete, but if they forget the fundamentals for just one game, they will fuck up. They will lose to other professionals who have similar abilities, but remember their fundamentals. So, so yeah, I think that was great. So if anyone has ideas for future topics, please write that in the comments. You can also type in the comments, what is your favorite fundamental to follow? What have you found to be helpful as your rules of life? All right. And you can find us on Instagram at Existence First. That's my Instagram. And Kira, yours is?
At Soul Designed Future.
Perfect. All right. We'll see you all next week.